Right.
Hey, so I'm Kirsty and I'll be your training facilitator for documenting children's learning. So in the first part of the training session we're going to go through observations in early childhood. So the main objectives of this is just for you to understand why you need to do observations in early childhood, like the reasons we do it, why it's important and the government legislation that goes with it, and obviously then we'll go through how to exactly do it for your centre standards. So why observation process is just the objectives again. So why we need observations. One of the most important types of documentation methods that educators need to be familiar with are observations. I know you've probably done them before in the centres, but obviously it's just a bit of a training session to make you more familiar and more comfortable and know exactly why and how to do them. Observations are crucial for all early childhood settings and are used to build an understanding of a child's skills, interests, abilities and focuses on what they can do. Early childhood education is not about teaching, it's about exploration and learning, and observations play an important role in meeting the development needs of your young learners. So obviously, as you all know, they will just play and you'll observe them through there, but it's very important that we document it all just to see if there's anything we can further them on or is there any needs that we need to address. So observing the children in your care can help you to better understand the strengths and weaknesses of each individual child. Your observations can guide your programming and help you to make adjustments to your care environment to improve a child's behaviour and facilitate learning. So that basically means through your daily programming, like what you set out for the children and what resources you're using. This will just help you guide that to make a good flow and to make sure you're really focusing on the children's interests and developing their needs. Regular observations and careful analysis of their behaviours and personality traits can help you to build a strong relationship with each child and connect with them in a more meaningful way. Obviously having a good bond with all the children really helps because then you can really understand like their needs and it'll help you when you're doing your little one-on-one observations, they'll feel comfortable with you and so this is the more like tricky, confusing bit. It's more like the documents relating to why we have to do observations. So it starts with the National Quality Framework, and also that links to the law, the regulations, and your early years learning framework is at the bottom. So that connects to it all. So we've got the National Quality Standard and the Quality Rating System as well. I've actually got some documents for you. So this is just from the National Quality Standard. So this is Quality Area 1. So Quality Area 1 is about the educational programme and practice. So that's obviously the one that's most directly linked to observations. But quite a lot of the quality areas all link into observations and interests and building relationships. So it does cover the wide variety, but this is the one that is the most important to the programme. You can just have a little read through that, and if you have any questions, you can have a little jot down on there or anything, or I'll just go through the rest. So, the early years learning framework and the National Quality Standard are two sides of the same coin. Educators who embrace the ELF and reflect in their daily work with children and families will be in a position to meet the requirements of the 7 quality areas of the National Quality Standards. So obviously that's just Quality Area 1. Demonstrating that you are providing for children's learning in relation to the 5 learning outcomes of the ELF and offering evidence that children are progressing in all outcome areas will be a significant part of the NQS assessment. So obviously, as you all know, DECs come to assess the centre, and obviously they'll be looking at how you're doing your programming and your observations and how you plan for the child. So understanding the framework and having just even a basic understanding will really help you to talk to DECs and tell them exactly how you're using the government frameworks to provide learning for the children and how you're programming. So you'll all use the ELF on a daily basis because you have to obviously link it to everything that you do within childcare. So the early years learning framework is an important and timely resource of early childhood. It embraces a vision for a new Australia. So their main focus points are that they're a future that embraces all Australians, a future based on mutual respect, mutual resolve and mutual responsibility, and a future where all Australians, whatever their origins, are truly equal partners with equal opportunities and with an equal stake in shaping the next chapter in the history of Australia. So it's all really about inclusion and making sure that every child is cared for and programmed for. And the framework provides an opportunity for educators across Australia to work towards a clear focus on children's learning and well-being, a shared language for curriculum in the early childhood field, a base for planning, promoting, assessing learning, improved quality in early childhood settings, cultural security for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island children and their families, and including families and communities in children's learning. So again, it's just focused on making sure that everyone's inclusive and that we are respecting all the nationalities. So within the ELF, obviously we have belonging, being and becoming. And these are three basic concepts that children's lives are characterised by. So I've got the actual document here. I don't expect you to obviously read it now. You can take it away with you because it is quite an extensive document. But you can keep this within your rooms and use it when it is needed. This is basically just your guideline and it'll show you. So it refers to how a child from even birth is linked to family, community, culture and place. Through these relationships, a child's development and learning takes place as they begin to explore and develop. They develop their interests, create their own identity and make meaning to the world around them. The three concepts, belonging, being and becoming, represent life and living and are constantly referred to throughout the ELF. So it's really important that you have just a basic understanding of this, just because it all just links in together and it'll just make more sense to you as a whole. Have you got any questions so far about anything? I know it's a lot of information to take on right now, but all good?
All good.
We can go through everything as well at the end if you've got any more questions and we'll just... So these are just a basic understanding of belonging, being and becoming. Obviously, because that's quite an extensive document, this might just help to keep that little sentence in your mind to understand what each area is. So belonging is the basis for living a fulfilled life, where children feel they belong because of the relationships they have with family, community, children and place. Being is about living here and now. Childhood is a special time in their life and children need to be, to play, try new things and have fun. That makes sense so far. So obviously belonging to the community and being is in the here and now. Becoming is about the learning and development that young children experience. Children start to form their sense of identity at a young age, which shapes the type of adult they will become. Is that pretty straightforward? Brilliant. So the next slide is just going to be the diagram that you will see all the time within all the documents, the belonging, being and becoming one. And that just has all the principles, the practice and the learning outcomes in. It's a really good one just to print out and just keep in your room. Yeah, you can have it up in your room so you can have a quick look at it. So this is just a brief go through for National Quality Standard 1, which is the document that I just gave you. So this is just a brief overview of it. You can have a little read, but it's basically just about each child's current knowledge and ideas, making sure they're documented, that every child's supported and practiced throughout the programme. Educators and coordinators are focused, active and reflective. So obviously you need to reflect on everything that you do. So when you're doing your observations, which we'll go through later, you'll see there's actually a section of for reflection on your initial and your follow-on observations. It's really important that you do the reflection even just for yourselves, so you know what you could have done better next time, because obviously you're not going to just look after one child for the whole year, so you can change the way that you do things and make everything better. So this is the planning cycle. So this is the basic planning cycle that you will follow every time that you do an observation on a child. So obviously up at the top is collect information. Obviously it goes around in the cycle, but that's generally where we start. So you have observed the child doing anything. It could be Ben was playing with the train track and he was trying to get the train track to fit together, but he was having a few problems, but he was persistent and he sat there and he was really trying, he was moving it around. So your question and then analysing. So then you're like, right, what did Ben do? So you're sat there thinking, well, he was moving the train track around, he was using his fine motor skills, he was using his problem solving skills, and he was being very persistent and determined throughout. So then you plan. So then you plan and you think, what does that mean? What can it do? How can I make that better? Like further his learning. Act and do. So then you actually do a follow-on observation with him. So then you have to think of an observation that will further that on. So maybe you're going to try and do maybe a 6-piece jigsaw with him, trying to make him fit the pieces in a line, like do a favourite animal, or maybe you could do a picture of a train if he's interested in transport, and then reflect and review on the whole process. So yeah, how it all went and how you could have maybe done it better, if Ben enjoyed the experience, if you had any interest in it. And it's just basically a follow-on cycle, because obviously then you'll be collecting information again on the next things he does. So observations can take place during everyday routines as a child interacts with peers, activities and materials, or during a spontaneous event. So observations don't have to be a setup, you've made like a fabulous group time, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be that big. It can literally be that, I'll just use Ben again, that Ben took his plate from the table and started scraping it because he saw his educator doing that the day before, so he's learning, he's copying, he's role modelling. Before observing a child, there has to be a main reason for doing so, is the purpose observation too. So when you're observing a child, obviously if it is just Ben just running around in the playground, if that's something he does every day and you've documented before, that's not a very meaningful observation. Yes, he's obviously using his gross motor skills to run around the playground, but he does that, he's been doing that for years, so that's not a meaningful observation. So we need to first observe the child participating and engage with the environment, see how if they're comfortable in the environment, if they're in a group environment, if they're really comfortable in that, or they're better on a one-on-one situation. Is it for a child to achieve a goal? So if you've had like a goal for Ben for a while, maybe he, like I said, he's not good in a big group situation, so you're slowly trying to build him up to that big group situation. So you start off with like just a small group of 1 or 2 children, especially if they're a bit quieter and more calm, and you can build up to the big group setting and try to make him more vocal and yeah, interact with the big group experiences. Is it to describe a child's skills and abilities? To inform parents about their child's learning, or when we intentionally plan observations for specific purposes, we can plan how, when and where we will observe. So to inform the parents, when your parents might have, then parents might have come in and had a query about, oh, he seems to not vocalise very much when he's at Kinsey, like I know you said he's not very chatty and he seems to be sat out in the pictures, like he's never in the big group ones. So then you can, again, try and focus on doing the big group observations with him. So this is just an understanding of each section title. So I've been through with your educational leader and discussed how you set up your observations here. So these are the titles that you use. Within every centre they'll be basically the same. They might have a different title, but the set-out will be the same. So initial learning story, so that is just literally what you observe the child doing. What learning is occurring, that is the analysis of the child's learning, so that is thinking about what did I just observe, like what were the skills they showed. And then opportunities, possibilities and reflections is how the child's learning and development can be extended. So that's obviously planning for your follow-on activity. So this is for your initial observation, so here you do 2 observations. You do your initial and then you do your follow-on. So the initial is obviously what you just observed him doing. You hadn't had it planned out or anything, he just did that. And your follow-on is what you're going to have planned in your opportunities, possibilities and reflections. Within the reflection here, I know you have to link to the ELF, so that'll help you with the documents. It can be just 1 or 2 areas, you might have a couple of areas, sometimes it links into lots of things, sometimes it links into one. You can't ever be wrong when you're linking up, just remember that. It's how you perceived his learning, so don't ever worry and really stress over what link you've used. As long as you can describe to your peer or his parent why you chose that link, that's fine. So for the follow-on observation, so you've just planned your next learning activity, and this is doing the learning activity experience. So what you observe the child doing, and then what learning is occurring again is the analysis of the child's learning. So again, from the follow-on activity, you planned what you observed him doing. And then the opportunities, possibilities and reflections this time is not how you would extend them again. It's did they achieve the aim of the planned experience. So yeah, did it go well? Did it not go so well? Was he interested in it? Did he achieve what you thought he was going to achieve? So if you were trying to work on his fine motor, was he able to put the jigsaw together? Did he get frustrated? Was he distracted by something else in the room? It can just be a quick sentence saying, yes, he achieved the aim of the experience because he was interested and focused, or it could be no. And don't worry about putting no, it's not a bad reflection on yourself, it's good that you're reflecting on your abilities. So if it is no, maybe because there was other children in the room and he was more interested in that, or there was another experience out that he was more interested in, that's just something for next time you can think maybe take him to a different part of the room where he can't see anything, or like another experience, or maybe it's in a different situation, it might be better, maybe in a group so he has some friends